What's going on, you deliriously dopey dugongs? Welcome to this week's episode of Total Pod Mode. My name is James, also known as Mr. Bames, and I'm joined as always by the wondrous Will, also known as Hoodafunk.
Hey yo! Back for another week, another exciting episode of Total Pod Mode lined up for the listeners.
Certainly is. We've got our usual catch up, we've got some news with some interesting stuff going on. Bit of Microsoft update, 2 Microsoft updates in fact, technically. And then maybe some cheap graphics cards. Who knows? Are they going to be any good?
Again, who knows?
Exactly that. And then rounding off the show, we have Completionist Corner, but a slightly different Completionist Corner this week. In previous weeks, we've sort of used Completionist Corner as sort of a book club for games, going on a bit of a deep dive into the story as well as how we've played. This week, we're hitting a game that we sort of hit a bit last week, but we've been playing a lot of it together, a lot of co-op this week, so we're going to do a bit of a deeper dive into Diablo 4 this week.
Absolutely, looking forward to getting into that later.
But before that, let's hit them socials. You can, as always, find the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and pretty much anywhere else you get your podcasts by searching for Total Pod Mode.
We also post regular video content of our playthroughs, stream highlights, as well as the podcast on our YouTube channel, Total Pod Mode.
You can also find us on Twitter by searching for @TotalPodMode, all one word.
Or you can find me at Hoodafunk on Twitter, and I'm also on Twitch under twitch.tv/Hoodafunk.
And you can find me on Twitter @MrBames, and I'm also on Twitch under twitch.tv/MrBames_TPM. So, Will, obviously I know that you've been playing a lot of Diablo 4 this week, but hit me up. What else have you been playing this week, if anything?
Well, I gotta say, man, that really is the only thing I've been playing this week. I've been preparing for a very special event, and yeah, it's been keeping me busy, so I'm gonna pass this one straight over to you. Have you managed to play anything other than Diablo this week?
So I did manage to play a little bit of Dragon's Dogma.
Oh, very nice, okay. This is a game that we've spoken about a little bit in the past, and we'd even discussed actually trying to do this one together if it's possible.
Which I don't believe it is.
Is it not? That's a shame.
I don't think so. And it's a game that I've picked up about 4 or 5 different times on about 4 or 5 different consoles. Never really got very far in it at all, but always wanted to get further in it. So I thought, hey, why not try for the 7 millionth time to do just that? So I got started on it. I'm not very far in at all. So far, I'm still doing things that I pretty much remember, with the exception of one mission I did.
Fine. Is it pretty much your standard RPG fare? Go collect 7 eggs?
There is a lot of that sort of bullshit, yeah, but it's not standard in the sense that it has something called the pawn mechanic, whereby you can create a companion for yourself, and they kind of have AI that is meant to make them do certain things. And it's kind of interesting, but I wish you could actually pick what their starting AI was, rather than just answer some questions and hope for the best.
Is it a little bit like the GOAT test in Fallout in terms of how they generate a personality?
Ish, but at the end of the GOAT test, you can edit everything if you don't like it.
Right, okay. Which, on this one, you can't.
No, you don't even see what it is until you get your pawn generated. And then you can sort of change it a little bit by sitting in a chair of knowledge in the inns, which basically means you're getting drunk with your pawn. And you can sort of, again, through a series of questions, normally multiple choice, you can sort of push them in other directions. But it's very clunky, and it would, in my opinion, it'd be better if you could just customize it.
Yeah.
But no, other than that, it is pretty much a standard RPG. The combat mechanics are a little bit more interesting just because you can climb on stuff.
Yes, that was a part of it that I really enjoyed. The fact that you can seemingly grapple onto any enemy, larger ones included, and sort of climb around and attack them. And it works in a much more fun way than the mounting system in Monster Hunter works, where you just land on them and enter kind of like a set animation sort of thing where you can hop around. You can truly crawl around these things, can't you?
Yes, it is slightly limited by your stamina bar.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, if you just go up something's leg, press the grapple button, you can climb up it, and so long as it doesn't shake you off, you can get to certain points and just keep smacking the shit out of it. Some enemies have individual parts that can be killed off before others.
Okay.
For example, in the tutorial level, there's a chimera, so you can cut the snake's tail off, then you can kill the goat on its back, and then you've just got the lion head at the front.
Nice.
So there's cool things like that, and because I'm running a fighter this time around, because I just kind of want to do my best just to get through it, so I want to be powerful. And my support pawn is a giant, like the tallest it can be, the heaviest it can be, because that gives them the most equip load, so I can use them as a pack mule.
Okay.
And he's a support mage, so he just buffs my weapon with holy enchantment for zombies and stuff like that. Heals me if I need it. But his personality, he's got one of the things I want, utilitarian, which is basically just aid people when they need it. So if I need to get my weapons buffed as just described and healed, etc. But his main one is basically he just goes around picking everything up.
Okay, which is obviously pairs well with his pack mule abilities.
It does, but I don't want it because he's literally stopped fighting something to pick up an item.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, that's not so good.
Or interrupted a healing spell because he's noticed a fucking herb over there. And he
Ooh,
wants
a
to
lump
go
of
get it.
coal.
Ooh, a piece of candy.
It's that sort of thing, honestly. Like, literally, it'll be like, I'm in the middle of a fight, need healing, and then it's like, he's called Cromwell. Cromwell will pick up a rock.
Fine,
And
okay.
it's just like, what? Mate, come on.
Get your shit together, Cromwell.
Exactly, I need you over here, buddy.
Get over here!
But he's sweet enough. He does the job. When he's on point, but if I could have just set his AI different, it would just be spot on.
Now, in terms of the controls for this game, in terms of the melee combat, how does that work?
Same as any other game you would expect. You got weak attack, strong attack,
Is that mapped to X and Y, or is that bumpers, triggers?
X and Y.
X and Y, fine. So,
Yep.
yeah, the fairly standard hack and slash type control
Yes,
scheme.
but you can then hold down right bumper, presumably R1, and you will then have on the 3 buttons that aren't A, special abilities for your class skills, if you like.
Oh, okay, okay.
So I've got, for example, there's one attack where I can just rush forward and just like obliterate one enemy. It's really fucking useful. And then because I'm a fighter, I've got my shield stuff on left bumper. So left bumper, I hold it to block, but then also I've got 3 abilities on my shield as well.
Fine, so you can be blocking and then activate an ability whilst doing so.
Yeah, exactly that.
Nice, that's useful.
But obviously, if you're a class that doesn't have a shield, that would probably be your secondary weapon if you have one. So it might be the bow for the archer class, because their primary weapons are daggers, I think, and they're not archer. It's called strider or something.
Fine.
But I think their primary weapons are daggers and then their secondary weapons bow, so maybe it controls the abilities for them.
Are there any kind of notable classes or weapons that you've encountered yet that you don't typically experience in other games?
Weapons, no. Classes, not that I've personally used or encountered, but there is the magical archer class, which is quite an interesting one.
Right, so is that a set class, or is that something that you're just able to achieve through leveling up the right things?
You don't really level up things. So you get vocations, which is your class.
Fine.
And they level up with you, and you're set to the whatever the vocation you have, you'll get appropriate stat increases for that vocation. You can switch vocations at pretty much any time. You just need to have some discipline points, which you earn by killing enemies and doing basically experience, but it's not experience.
And is that this game's version of a respec?
No, it's not not respec at all. It's for leveling up. I don't think you can respec. So, like, for example, you might do 10 levels in fighter and then decide, I want to be an assassin, which is the cross between the fighter and the sort of more roguey archery build.
Okay.
And then you can buy it for 1,000 discipline, and then you'd be leveling up in that. Then you might say, I've done 10 levels in that. I want to do 10 levels in another vocation.
So you don't necessarily lose the skill points when you go over and pursue something else. You get to keep everything and progress it as well.
Yes, but if you're using a vocation that can't use the weapon, you won't be able to use the skills associated with said weapon. You'll have them, but you won't be able to use them.
So I guess that's similar to kind of when you don't have the right stats in Dark Souls to wield a weapon, that it just does next to no damage and doesn't work as intended.
Not at all. You literally can't hold the weapon, is my understanding.
Oh, right, okay.
I've not tried it, but I think you just lose the ability to use the weapon.
Fine, okay.
But no, and the only other thing that's notable really is that there's no dodge.
Yes, that was one of the things that I wanted to ask. No dodge, no quick step, presumably as well then. So it's purely blocking.
Certainly with the fighter class it is. I don't know if there's a dodge roll and anything else, but it's not natively mapped to B, because B is interact with stuff, because A is jump.
I know you were aware if there's any sort of parry system at all?
Not like a Dark Souls, but you can like perfect block.
Okay, that's something.
But no, other than that, just a standard RPG, and I'm not very far in it because I have just been playing Diablo basically this week.
That's where the meat of your time's been this week. Nice one.
But yeah, so if you've got no games to talk about, then I guess it's time we move on to the news. So in our first news story this week, we're continuing a recent run of gaming showcases here. The Xbox Games Showcase 2023 took place on the 11th of June, and this was combined with the Starfield Direct from Bethesda for a double whammy of gaming goodness.
Very nice.
I believe there were about 27 games shown in total, but some of the notable ones that I thought I'd pick out for us to discuss here are, of course, Starfield, which we saw a lot more of.
Yes, that was like a whole half an hour gameplay footage. I mean, that was really good to see, reassuring in a lot of ways in terms of the gameplay, and it does certainly look very familiar, if you feel me, looking at, I'm kind of feeling Fallout 4 vibes in terms of the shooting mechanics and things like that. Obviously, you can tell that the graphics have been majorly pulled forward.
Yeah, it looks really good, man.
Very impressive what they're still squeezing out of that engine, huh?
And it's looking a lot better than it looked the last time I saw footage of it, I'll say that much. And it actually has sort of reinvigorated a little bit of hype for me. It looks like it's going to be very good, actually. So I'll probably sort of rue those words in a few months when it comes out and runs like shit, 'cause it's a Bethesda game, so we'll have bugs on launch.
Bugs on launch, bugs well into the game's life cycle and continuing on. I mean, it's like you pick up Fallout 4 or Skyrim these days and you're still encountering loads of weird things happening.
There's no bugs in Skyrim.
Liar! They're all intended features.
Exactly.
All of this just works.
Fallout, for some reason, doesn't fall under that umbrella for you?
Honestly, I've not noticed too much in the Fallouts I've played a lot. I'm sure it's there, but the one I played the most is Fallout 3, and I don't remember that being too buggy. But maybe that's just me looking back with rose-tinted specs. But no, so Starfield looking very good. The only sort of controversial thing to come out of it, if you want to call it controversial, is that it was confirmed that sort of around this time that the console versions are going to be locked at 30 FPS.
Yes, which is, I'm tempted to say in a way, unsurprising, although it is still weirdly disappointing to be limited to that on current day consoles. I think that in terms of just getting this game to run on those consoles, especially using the Bethesda engine, I mean, I know that we've got similar kind of comparable games that this one might at first glance resemble, like No Man's Sky. However, it's as time's gone on, it's become very clear that this isn't just another No Man's Sky, and there is going to be a lot of complexity here that I think that they are going to struggle to run on these consoles. So I think that they even said that you're not going to get full 4K on, or rather you will get 4K on the Series X, but you won't on the S. You're running at something like 1440p instead as well. So they've had to do a lot of bits behind the scenes to make this run on consoles.
Yeah, and that's really apparently what the driving force is. They just want to make it run. They have faith in the game. They just want it to run good.
It seems that they've gone for kind of overall smoothness rather than peaks of 60 with massive interludes of less than that.
Yeah, well, let's fingers crossed to see if it actually helps, and it does do that.
Another little bit of interesting news about this Starfield trailer that we get to see was that the adoring fan from Oblivion has made a return to Starfield.
Yes, I did see this story, and I'm staying away from it. I want to get surprised by that. It's
Oh,
kind of
right,
annoying.
okay.
I was kind of annoyed that I saw it, to be honest, but I did see it before you said that.
Fine, yeah. I mean, it's interesting the fact that the way that they've converted him over, you can see the face scan is obviously looks quite a bit different, not just in terms of graphic improvements, but he doesn't look immediately recognizable. However, fans of the series will immediately recognize his voice and kind of general vibe as he approaches you.
Oh, is it the same voice too? Oh, I didn't know that. Now I'm spoiled.
Why wouldn't it be the same?
Because Oblivion's like 15 years old. The person who did the voice might not be voice acting anymore. I don't
Might not
know.
even be dead.
No, it won't be dead, but it might not be doing it anymore.
So I think that was a nice little nugget of Easter egg there for fans of previous series, and it again goes a bit of a further way of selling the game, reaching back to such an iconic title as Oblivion.
Yeah, we'll see if they're putting the most annoying thing in Oblivion in the new game is actually going to draw people in, but hey, respect, and I do respect the Easter egg as well.
Kind of interesting that that's what the majority of people were talking about following the trailer, as opposed to actually the game itself, though. That definitely at least says something a little bit about the way that this game is likely to be received anyway.
That's probably more to do with the fact that Starfield has been coming for about 5 years.
Running out of things to talk about, this new news. Yeah.
Exactly.
Could be.
Well, the next game I've got written down here that was notable was a new Forza Motorsport coming in October. Very exciting for those driving fans out there. I do count myself among them, although I haven't really bought a Forza game in quite a number of years now. But yeah, new Forza is always good.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely good news for fans of the series. This is kind of, it looks like one of their more serious racing simulation ones, as opposed to the side series where they started to take a sidestep and...
Horizon, yeah.
Thank you, yeah, where they started to go away from that quite so strict and realistic racing sim. This will be a return to form for Forza, and something to watch out for fans of the racing series.
Normally very, very good, so fingers crossed they continue in that vein.
I'm always really, really impressed by the graphics of these games.
And I'm always really, really impressed by the way the cars drive. It's really realistic.
Yeah, I just, it's not really personally what I look for in a racing game, although I'm the first to admit that racing games aren't really my type of games in general.
They used to be more mine, but not so much anymore.
I'm more of a Need for Speed kind of Burnout kind of guy. Mario Kart kind of guy.
Yeah, just hold down the trigger button.
Yeah. If you have to like actually brake, then that's not so good.
I used to play with manual gears changes as well.
That is one thing that I have always done on Forza is play with manual gears because I mean, if you're in for a penny, in for a pound, right?
And also you do it better. You can get quicker acceleration and stuff. Anyway, we digress. The next game I've got here is a game I played a little bit of the first one because it was on Games Pass. I've included it more because it's a really well-received, critically acclaimed title rather than anything else. But the Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2. Did you ever get a chance to play the first one?
No, I didn't. This is a title that I've been meaning to play, and whenever I do end up getting kind of a Games Pass for a month or for really cheap or something, it is a game that I mean to pick up. But no, I've never found time to play it. Does look very interesting. It covers some interesting themes around mental health, and the art style and graphics were really impressive for the time and stand up now as well.
Yeah, it's a little bit too cinematic for my taste, which is why I put it down.
Sounds like I could vibe with something like that though.
Yeah, I was expecting it to be a bit more of a fighter than it was. There's
Fine.
fighting bits in it, don't get me wrong, and maybe I just didn't get far enough in it, but it was very cinematic. I agree with everything you've said there, though. It looks lovely, even now. Those graphics are great. Rounding off with a couple of big old RPG games here. The first one that we've got was Avowed, which is a game that I know not too much about, but is one of those ones that I'm sort of keeping an eye on because it sounds like it could be cool. Basically, big old open world RPG, lots of fighting, lots of cool stuff.
I mean, it's kind of swords and shields style combat with a heavy focus on you casting magic yourself, and it's from a first-person perspective. I guess closest comparators I can think is something like BioShock with a much more developed melee system as opposed to using various like grenade launchers and revolver pistols, shotguns and things. This is gonna, focus much more on older types of warfare, and spells seem to be the biggest part of this in terms of the way that you're casting them. It does look very fun, although I will say I'm not hugely turned on by this.
No?
I think the fact that I'm such a big fan of BioShock has actually made me kind of lean away from playing too many other games where there's like a whole spellcasting first-person perspective system going on. So it was a bit of a similar story with Atomic Heart as well. Is the more gameplay I looked at Atomic Heart and in terms of the way the game was written as well, I just thought this is just kind of like it's using bits of BioShock but not implementing them as well, in my opinion. I'm just getting a similar feeling with Avowed as well, although I am interested with a bit more of a melee focus over shooting guns, admittedly.
And that's the thing that's sort of making me think that it could be really cool, because having those sort of Bioshock-esque powers, if the melee system's on point, that would just be a nice accompaniment rather than needing to be the main event. And I think it could be really cool, but because of the way I do things, which isn't great for podcasting, I've got to admit, I am staying away from it a little bit so that if I do decide to get it, it's all quite surprising.
I suppose the only thing that concerns me there is that I have yet to see melee combat implemented really well in a first-person game. I can't think of any that particularly come to mind. I suppose Dishonored wasn't a bad attempt, although I much more lean towards the projectile weapons in that. Chivalry has that type of thing, but obviously that is an entirely dedicated system to the melee combat. You wouldn't be able to like stick spell casting on top of that with the way that game's configured. So I'm very interested to see how they implement this. What I'm hoping to avoid is something that looks or feels a little bit too much like Skyrim, where although the melee combat is passable, I don't think it's particularly polished or works particularly well.
Well, I think that's blasphemy, personally. But
Each to their own.
I know what you mean, though. As you say, we'll see.
Remains to be seen.
But the second RPG I've got down here is one I think we are both interested in, at least to some degree, and that is we got a little bit more of a look at the new Fable game.
The new Fable game, not a numbered title, just Fable. It's a reboot.
Same universe, new story completely, and it looks really good, man.
Well, you say looks really good. We didn't get to see much of it, really. It was mostly a CGI trailer in terms of it was Richard Ayoade chatting and speaking whilst being a giant.
Yeah, which they have confirmed is representative of the game, though. So either they're lying or it's true.
Well, it depends. Is Peter Molyneux involved? Because
no, not at all. I don't think he is involved at all.
I was going to say, well, if Peter Molyneux's involved, then they're lying.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't believe he's involved at all.
No, yeah, it's very intriguing. It was cool to see just a glimpse back into that universe, that it's been confirmed that it's coming. I guess there are going to be fully fledged giants in the game, and I guess that you will be able to walk around giant houses as a little person relative to the giant environments you're in. The other thing that I noticed that was kind of a focal point of the trailer was it was kind of This is the end of the age of the heroes, which obviously was the focal point of the prior Fable titles. You were a hero yourself, and that gave you all sorts of various abilities. You were part of a large prophecy. Whereas this one marks the kind of the power has fallen into the everyday man now. You know, civilians are wielding magic, it looks like. So it'll be very interesting to see just how that changes up the dynamic, how that changes up enemy fights as well in the game. Are we going to be fighting other magic users now? That'd be cool.
Most likely. As you say, I think they've completely rebooted everything, and I think it's going to be way more of a standard traditional RPG style like a Skyrim, rather than what Fable used to be, which was RPG, but it was very much a sort of basic hack and slash type affair, and as you say, didn't really face too many magic users or anything like that. I think they were there, but yeah, I think it could be really cool, man, if they're just putting that universe to use with really cool things and cool adventures and a new story. I'm here for it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I really did like the trailer, although I just wish we got a bit more. I wanted to see some actual gameplay. I want to get some eyes on at what this game is actually going to look like. Is this going to be a huge shake-up to Fable? Or is this going to be just a return to form, you know, with obviously time has significantly moved on since the last title?
Oh, I think it's going to look completely different, going to feel completely different. I think the only thing that will be similar is the name and the fact it's set in Albion.
Okay, I look forward to playing the Fable RTS game in 2025.
That would suck. There probably is one.
Imagine.
There's Albion Online. That exists.
Yeah, that is true.
So who knows?
So you're right, this is definitely a title that I'm looking forward to. I know you are as well. I just am absolutely chomping at the bit to see a little bit more gameplay stuff. At least some in-engine stuff. It doesn't need to be real-time rendered. I just want some in-engine footage, an image even, please.
I'm sure it'll come when the game's a bit more ready.
So, James, now in hindsight, and not to add fuel to the fire of the console war, but we've seen the PlayStation offerings and we've seen the Xbox offerings so far, or at least the major titles thereof. Do you have an opinion about which one had the better showcase?
I would probably say that PlayStation had the better showcase, just purely based on the fact they announced more new games that I'm hyped for.
Yes, yeah.
But Xbox had a lot more things that I think is more proven in my eyes, because they didn't really announce anything new. They showed a bit more Lies of P, which obviously we're both looking forward to as well. But I think on balance, probably Sony, but they were both arguably a little disappointing overall.
Overall, yeah, I think that it would have been great to see. There's always more, you know, there's always this grass is greener. It would be great to see a little bit more. There was some news I was particularly hoping to see. I was hoping to see some news about Last of Us Factions, the multiplayer mode for that, which didn't end up being mentioned.
Death Stranding 2.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It'd been great to have some news of those titles, and we just didn't. However, I mean, the same can be said for Xbox as well. We've got Kojima's project working with Xbox that we didn't even get a blip of in this showcase either. So on both sides, there's stuff missing. I think that you're absolutely right. I think on balance, Sony probably did pull out more titles out the bag. It definitely felt like the more hype one. However, Xbox has such a dedicated fan base for the games that they're coming out. Avowed is potentially one to be excited for. Starfield is something that is definitely something to be excited for, I think. When we do actually get a release of that, that will no doubt be very interesting, very expansive, and who knows about the actual gameplay experience on release. But I think that that title itself is definitely something to watch. But then you've got the real heart tugs there, which is, of course, Forza and Fable, which are two, in my eyes, for people that like those games enough, console-selling titles.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It'll be interesting to see who wins this generation.
Don't care. PC race down.
You're
Not
out the
interested.
console war now. You're out the game.
I have no skin in that game anymore.
I'm not a big fan of the hype around the console comparisons too much, but I do like to see eventually who does come out on top.
They're much for muchness. I've owned both. I never really remember thinking one was better than the other. Most of them play all the games. Sony have always had better exclusives. I'll cop to that.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what Sony has.
But that's kind of shifting potentially now. Although the second news story we've got might be putting some dampeners on some of those.
Let's get into it.
Sticking with Microsoft, it's actually time for an update on our favourite ongoing saga. So this week, Microsoft have been blocked from purchasing Activision Blizzard, for now at least. According to a report from The Verge, a federal court has issued a restraining order that will prevent Microsoft from completing its acquisition of Activision Blizzard until it can consider a preliminary injunction requested by the US Federal Trade Commission, the FTC. So whilst the FTC is attempting to stop Microsoft from finalising its deal before the deadline of 18th of July, Microsoft stated that the injunction was a good thing, as it would speed up the legal process, stating, Accelerating the legal process in the US will ultimately bring more choice and competition to the gaming market. A temporary restraining order makes sense until we can receive a decision from the court, which is moving swiftly. So Will, Microsoft is seemingly not too worried about this latest development, but with this, the UK's CMA not approving the deal and the looming threat of a $3 billion breakup fee if the deal isn't completed by 18th of July, it's perhaps spenny times ahead for the tech giant here.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I feel like the $3 billion breakup fee is probably a drop in the water, considering that this overall deal's value is $69 billion.
Nice.
But I think the Microsoft are right to be sort of keeping a public-facing positive view on this. The last thing that they want to do is come across as deriding the decision of these large commissions. And as we sort of discussed in the last time we picked up this subject, you had Microsoft saying clearly the UK market is closed for business, and they were kind of fighting back on some of these decisions. Whereas I feel that this is probably a better approach to adopt, where they're sounding calm and confident about it and actually saying that this is a positive thing even. Goes a long way to say just how much their overall confidence is in this going through. Although I gotta say, my own confidence in this going through is waning by the day given the ongoing news about this.
Yeah, and they've only got a month to sort of sort things. I'm sure that'll get extended, don't get me wrong. This is too big of a deal to just be rushed through in a month. But yeah, it does seem like it's getting more and more negative towards the outcome that I certainly thought was going to be the case with no issues whatsoever, way back when we first started reporting on this story. So interesting times ahead. Once more, we'll keep you posted when there's major updates on this story.
But for now, it seems like this one is on hold once again.
Yeah, until next month, I guess. So moving on to our final news story, and potentially something a little bit more upbeat than what we've just discussed there. Nvidia have brought forward the launch date of their RTX 4060 series graphic card to this month. So from the 29th of June, you'll be able to order a shiny new 4060 with prices starting at $299 for the 8GB card, a saving of $100 when compared to the already available 4060 Ti.
Okay, so the prices are finally coming down a little bit.
So they're hopeful that this will be a little bit more successful than the 4060 Ti has been, with initial sales being described as lukewarm, with many seemingly disappointed by the price.
And the performance as well.
Yes, and the performance. Although I must admit I've not personally seen too much of that, so I can't comment. But yes, the people, they aren't happy. And perhaps this is the reason why Nvidia have brought forward the release date of the 4060 standard. Cynical maybe, but only time will tell, with the 4060 facing competition not just from AMD's upcoming Radeon RX 7600, but last generation cards from both companies as well. And this is where the interesting point comes up, because the article, shout-outs to PC Gamer for this one, actually states that the older stuff is going to get cheaper here, which is in complete contrast to what we reported on months ago at this point.
That's exactly right, yeah.
Where they said that it was going to stay high because the cost of silicon stayed high. So I know that you're actually potentially looking at upgrading the old graphics card at some point, and I know that I've got other friends who are too. Does this do anything for you in that regard?
Honestly, it's great news for me in terms of the fact that graphics card prices are slowly sinking back to normal, and in some cases even below normal prices. However, I have read quite a lot of news around 40 series users being unhappy with the performance of their cards. Particularly, I think that might have been accentuated by the spate of poorly optimized games for PCs that we've seen this year. I've also read into the specs of some of the lower end of the 40 series cards, and honestly, it seems that their performance doesn't still justify the price in terms of getting an upgrade. I think that a lot of people are of the mind that actually, do you know what, I'm going to hang on to my 1080 Ti for another year or two until we see the next series. So I think that one thing that they are absolutely doing a big focus on is the deep learning supersampling, DLSS, which is essentially AI generated frames that can up to double the frame rate in certain games by inserting high quality AI frames in between the actual frames of the game. The technology is impressive there, and it certainly does do its job, but I think that the point being missed there is that we want the actual performance over something that imitates a performance increase instead. I think DLS is definitely something to be excited about. However, I think that the performance of these cards still doesn't quite justify the current prices, and I will be waiting a while. I'm not tempted by the 40 series. If anything, actually, I think I'd be looking at perhaps buying a higher end 30 series card as the prices come down. Yeah, as the prices come down for that, as opposed to the 40 series. I think that's probably the move I will make at some point.
I can't say anything against that. I've got a 3080 and I love it dearly. It's very good.
I just hazard to say that, a lot of this information I'm rolling on is just essentially coming through word of mouth in terms of the performance of the 40 cards that are installed on people's computers at the moment. However, looking into the specs myself for the 4060, it's not that impressive aside from the use of the DLSS.
Yeah, I've got to say, because I'm very, very happy with my 3080, I've not really been paying much attention to this series because I'm not going to probably look at this one or the next one. I think I'll be good for a while now. But
yeah, absolutely. Considering you bought one at the peak of the demand for those cards as well.
Probably overpaid, but that's fine.
Probably definitely overpaid. But hey, I mean, you got the PC now.
Anyone out there looking for an upgrade? $299 seems like a reasonable price to me, but keep an eye on that performance. Make sure it's good before you buy. Do your research. And on that lovely public service announcement there, we come to the end of the news for this week. So now, let's move on to Completionist Corner. Sort of.
Here we go for the completionist's corner. Corner.
So as we mentioned at the top of the show, this week we're going to be talking about Diablo 4. So in last week's catch-up, we mentioned briefly a little bit about the story. We're heroes set out into the world of Sanctuary, which is kind of a bit of a purgatory type deal between heaven and hell. And we're off to fight the Daughter of Hatred, Lilith, and see what she's up to and foil her plans.
Whatever they may be.
Whatever they may be. And last week we were talking a bit more about our solo characters, Mia Sorcerer, Will Barbarian. But this week, because we were co-oping, we decided that we'd start new characters and get a fresh adventure going.
That's exactly right. Time to team up.
Will, why don't you tell the people what character you chose for this round?
For this playthrough, I actually chose the Rogue class because as I'd mentioned briefly last week, I'd seen a bit of Necromancer gameplay with Liam, so I wasn't overly curious there. I'd also played as a sorcerer quite a bit in previous Diablo titles, whereas the rogue was something that was fairly new and fresh to me, so I jumped in right there, making a female rogue character.
And what was her name?
I chose the name Fortune for this character. I think that this is, in my mind at least, a little reference back to Metal Gear Solid 2. One of the bosses in that title was called Fortune, and she wielded like a kind of a giant electromagnetic sniper rifle. I think it was slightly like a rail gun. Her whole deal was that she couldn't be hit by bullets. Her nano machines made bullets zing around her. So I just used that name and went with it. Very happy with the character. I went for a kind of like shaved at the sides, spiky on top haircut, and loads of sort of body tattoos and things like that. Very pale skin as well. Kind of looks like one of the night folk from Elden Ring, but way more tatted up.
Yeah, not quite as decrepit.
Yeah. So this character has a range of abilities. They have their basic skills in line. The one that I have chosen to go for, I initially started with the puncture ability, which allows you to throw blades a short distance in order to hit enemies. However, after a while, the lack of range on that made me look into other things, so I've now moved on to using the forceful arrow, which fires a powerful arrow at an enemy, dealing a certain amount of damage, and every third time I cast that, it also makes them vulnerable, meaning they're more susceptible to hits and generally weaker. I was finding that ability really useful, pairing that one with the rapid fire ability, which is essentially it just turns your crossbow into like a machine gun. Before moving on to the rapid fire ability, I was using the barrage ability, which works in a very similar way, except that it's much more scattergun, and I preferred having the accuracy of just firing a line of arrows with the rapid fire as well.
Yeah, very cool looking ability when I've seen it on screen, I must say.
Along with that, they've also got the ability to imbue their powers and certain weapons with various status effects. So there's the cold imbuement, poison imbuement, and shadow imbuement. I've mucked around with all of them. I'm finding the shadow one was very good for sort of AoE explosions, because any attack that you've imbued with the shadow will make them explode on death. The poison, as you would expect, just slowly drains their health. And I've noticed actually since playing with James that the way that the health bar is represented is, as most people would expect, there's a bright red health bar which slowly ticks down. On top of that as well, there is a darkened section of it, which represents the damage that you've done to them through poison and other status effects. So as you watch their whole health bar turn a dark red, you know that in effect you've actually already killed them, allowing you to move on to another person without wasting any more of your powers on them. So I'm finding that very useful in terms of using those imbuement powers. And just very quickly, the third and final one, the cold imbuement, is extremely useful for slowing down enemies and occasionally freezing them as well. It gives James and myself lots of opportunities for getting critical hits and special attacks, and also occasionally from preventing them from actually doing an attack, which is very useful as well.
Yes, I can talk about freezing a lot because that's what my sorcerer build is basically predicated on.
It's the
Pure
main
frost build
focus.
for that very reason. It's so good. It's so good for crowd control. So very, very useful indeed.
My character also has a couple of agility skills, namely the dash and the caltrops, which are two ones that I was using. The caltrops was very good because it slows enemies, and when paired with the dash move, if you dash into an enemy whilst they're slowed, they will get dazed. If they're not already slowed, then they get slowed from the dash as well. So essentially dropping a load of caltrops down on the floor, which slows the enemies in a large area, and then dashing through them, I could daze multiple enemies in once because the dash is quite significantly far across the screen. You get 2 charges of that dash as well, so it can be used as a sort of initiator and a retreat away from battle as well. So a very agile character, the rogue, whilst also doing a significant amount of agility reduction for the enemies that you're fighting, which makes her very good for kiting and affecting large groups of enemies at once.
Yes, a very good support class, the rogue.
Very good indeed. Added to that arsenal, I've also been messing around with the poison trap, which are deployable mines that I can stick on the floor that are triggered via a tripwire. This one, as its name implies, shoots out a poison cloud around, affecting any enemies within the cloud, as well as the enemies that walk into the cloud. So that is a very useful ability there, just chipping away enemy health. Coupled with the poison imbuement as well, you can absolutely shred health bars using those powers. It works really well whilst James is stomping around with his character. And then finally, I'll move on to my ultimate skills. I've mucked around with all 3 of these, and I have a definite favourite after using them. So the Death Trap is an ability which generates a large tripwire trap that does a significant amount of damage to enemies. I found that ability quite boring because I've already played a fair bit with the poison trap and I didn't really want just another bomb related item. I was getting quite enough use out of the poison trap. Another ability that I thought was really interesting, but I turned out not to like so much, was the Shadow Clone. So this is an ability where you can clone yourself and they perform all the same actions that you do whilst they're summoned, which is only for about 15 seconds, so not nearly long enough in my mind. I'd have liked them to stick around a little bit longer. I suppose they do essentially... they don't quite double your damage because I think you initially get them to deal 60% of your damage, and then via skill point upgrades you can get them to deal 80% of your damage. So
yeah, but that in general is, in my opinion, the biggest drawback of that ability.
What's that it only does 60%
Yeah.
to 80%? Yeah.
And I don't believe it attacks the same target that you're attacking, so it's just pot luck as to whether it actually does anything.
That's my main issue, is I feel like it should guaranteed be attacking the exact same target that you're shooting at, so you actually feel that sudden increase in power, because a lot of the time I'm finding that they're shooting other people or they've disappeared too quickly and I'm not really getting much use out of it. So all of these issues led me to move on to my favourite ultimate ability, which is the Rain of Arrows, where you shoot a massive volley of arrows in 2 waves travelling across the floor, dealing large amounts of damage to enemies. It's by far the coolest looking ability I find, because when I say a volley of arrows, it really does look like a platoon of archers have just fired hundreds of arrows on the ground, and it covers such a large space and deals so much damage and looks so badass that it's the clear winner of the ultimate abilities for my character.
It looks like a tidal wave of arrows. It's pretty brutal.
That's pretty much my arsenal. What about you, James?
Well, so Will there being a bit more of a support character with some sort of death blow ability, I thought that I would try a bit more of a melee focused character. Although the character class I did choose could go both ways, it does have magical capabilities as well. I'm of course talking about the Druid, nature's champion. So a little bit about my character first. He's a big hairy motherfucker called Griswold.
Yeah.
Shiny green eyes.
Chunky boy.
Chunky boy, big boy. Like, he seems like, I think he's one of the taller character models.
He's definitely one of the wider character models.
He is the widest character model, I believe. But yeah, he's a cool guy. I've got him a custom outfit where he's looking very tribal, busts around, wearing all green, nature. And the Druid class is, as I say, a sort of combination of melee and magic. But I have fucked off the magic completely because I've got a sorcerer on the go, and that's like the pinnacle of magic. I don't need any of this nature shit. And what the Druid has that sort of drew me to this character rather than perhaps the barbarian or the rogue myself is the shape-shifting abilities. He can transform into either a werewolf or a werebear. And I sort of went with the theory of this motherfucker's huge and already looks kind of like a bear. I'm just going to go straight werebear. So I haven't gone through quite the gamut of emotions with my abilities that Will just went through there. I've basically known how this was going to go the whole time, and I've pumped all of my abilities into every single bear related ability I possibly can. So my basic attack is I transform into a werebear and I maul motherfuckers down, and it's got upgrades on it which has a 20% chance to knock enemies over for a second and a half, which doesn't sound like a long time, but it actually is quite significant.
It's very significant because not only does it give you that window to attack, but it also prevents them from doing the attack that they were just charging up as well. It's something I found really useful as part of my poison trap ability, that it knocks them over on exploding.
Yeah, well, it also, funny you mentioned the poison trap ability, it synergizes wonderfully with your poison trap ability because people get knocked over, they stay in the poison cloud for longer. Also works very well with his ultimate, the Volley of Arrows stuff, so very cool for like a basic ability.
Yeah.
And then my secondary ability is called Pulverize, I believe, and I just slam the ground, and it's got quite a big area of effect on it and does significant damage. The Druid mechanic, and I think it's actually the same with the Thief mechanic, you have to attack with your basic attack to build up, in my case, Spirit. I believe in your case it might be called Focus.
I think it's just called Charge.
Which is slightly different to the Sorcerer that I've been playing, which has a mana pot, if you like, that drains and then recharges automatically without you doing anything. With this, you have to be constantly attacking, which works really well for the playthrough I'm playing. But this Pulverize ability is great for crowd control. It's sort of my go-to sort of heavy attack. It's a great finishing move. It seems to have this uncanny ability to get crits at just the right time. It's been excellent. Another couple of abilities I've got that are of note is that I've got one ability where I transform into a bear and just run in, and I knock into enemies, dealing significant damage. And if I knock them into walls, it does bonus damage and they're stunned for sort of 2-3 seconds.
Nice.
And that's super handy for like getting involved, just running in. And I can't remember if I put the upgrade on it yet, or I'm going to put the upgrade on it soon, but when I do the attack, it actually gives me 20 spirit. I can then just pulverize stuff more straight afterwards as well if I've got an empty bar. It's already really handy, and I think that's going to be more handy as the games go on.
Nice.
And then I've got a sort of area of effect ability, which is I basically summon a bird in, or a bunch of birds in, and they sort of form a circle. I could upgrade it so that will make people vulnerable for 3 seconds or so. I haven't decided if I'm going to do that yet, but that's a possibility. And sort of as a bonus to that, randomly every so often a bird will just come out and just like hit enemies for like one hit, decent damage, but not too much.
It's very random, isn't it? You just see
Very
kind of a
random.
crow. It's not even really marked. If you blink, you'll miss it.
It's not
but
marked at all.
A crow just sort of flies out the sky and just dinks someone. I like it.
I'm adamant that it's bought me a health potion once as well. But
Oh, really?
I might have just made that up. Yeah, I think it did.
Maybe it just killed the guy and he dropped a health potion? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. It might have just been good timing.
You can also summon wolves, can't you, as part of that set of abilities? I don't think you focused on that, but I think wolves is another creature you can summon.
Yeah, it was 2 wolves, and I think the other one was a poison vine or something. But yeah, I just focused on the birds because I wanted that little birdie helping me, and it's
That
been
is
really cool.
super useful. Like it's always great when you're fighting a big fight and then the bird comes in and just gets that last hit on the dude running
Yeah,
away.
satisfying. Very satisfying indeed. And then the next ability is probably the ability I use the most, and it's been the one that's like super handy, is my Bear Roar ability. And this works initially as just a debuff to enemies and bosses and elites, which is really handy. I think fully spec'd, it makes them do 70% less damage for a sort of 3 or 4 seconds, which is super handy. And also fully upgraded, it gives me abilities such as Fortify, which basically adds another health bar on top of my health bar and just absorbs some damage.
Nice.
Kind of like a barrier.
Yeah.
And also heals me a little bit as well. So that's become
very
really
nice.
handy.
That sounds a little bit like one of my barbarian abilities in my other character. I can create a barrier that also lets me get some health back.
Yeah, and it recharges super quickly, which is just really handy. It makes me able to use it a lot.
Very good. No need to use healing items either then.
Well, no, but they're still needed though. But it does some health regen. It's not loads. And then my ultimate is basically just super big boy werebear mode. 20% more damage, 20% less damage received, and I just go a bit mad. And I can literally just stand there tanking at this point. Very, very handy, particularly in conjunction with the Bear Roar ability, because whilst in that bear mode, I can still use all my other bear abilities. So the only ability I can't use in my ultimate form, which probably lasts about 20 seconds or so.
It's more, mate. It's 50 seconds your Grizzly Rage ability lasts for. And then you can also actually upgrade it for an additional 10 seconds for every kill you get, so you can get it up to a minute in length.
Oh, damn. There you go. Doesn't seem like that long.
Hey man, it's better than my 15 seconds of getting my duplicate, that's for sure.
But no, that's been super handy. Losing the bird's ability while in that form is a price worth paying for the additional power and survivability. And all of these abilities synergize very well with Will's character. And this is sort of, I don't know if it was planned this way. It certainly wasn't from my side. It's more of a happy accident.
Yeah, definitely.
But it works really nicely because a lot of Will's abilities sort of slow people down, knock them over. My abilities can knock them over, but my abilities are very much crowd control, melee focus, tanking, getting in amongst it. Works really well.
Yes, because my abilities focus a lot around crowd control as well. I'm very agile, so I get to stay out of the way and pick people off from a distance. I kind of stand on the periphery of the battle a lot of the time and then occasionally dash through to help James out with some stuns and some dazed effects and things like that for enemies. But for the most part, I'm just in the back slowly chipping away at people while he's doing the majority of the chunk of upfront damage.
Yeah, tank class, got to be done.
Yeah, I guess I focus on the also the archers and things like that to avoid them from shooting too much, and that can be quite a drain on your health while you're fighting a large group of enemies, especially those goat boys with those big old spears. They shred you.
It's the ghosts, man, those banshees. But yeah, this is my first ever cooperative Diablo experience, so it was really fun to jump in, and I love the game single player, but it does add an extra dimension co-op.
As you mentioned last week, I mean, it really does have that MMO feel.
Oh yeah, this is straight up an MMO.
Yeah.
It's not hiding it.
I think that is what makes it feel so good in terms of the co-op, because it does have a lot of similarities there, and in terms of like loot systems and stuff, it's completely separated, so you still have that equal experience of playing a single player dedicated title. However, you've got the added bonus of just being able to play it with a friend and get divided loot. It's still worth mentioning that throughout this week we've had, I would say, maybe 75% smooth experience, but then there have definitely been some still very noticeable network issues causing problems for us during some of our play sessions.
Yeah, I think that's a little harsh.
25% is harsh, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a little harsh. Yeah, there's been lag in some of the towns, but when we've been out in the open, I don't recall anything too egregious.
Probably 25% of my overall playtime, at least, perhaps not counting all of the time that we spent together. I've had quite strong bits of lag. It's not stopping me from playing the game, but it is noticeable at certain periods. I don't know whether I'm playing just during high traffic times. I don't know.
No, it's very much it's in the towns for the most part. It does happen occasionally out and about, I'll give you that, but I think 25%, that seems high to me.
It's like on entering and exiting towns, as well as exploring areas where they tend to have events, I'm noticing. And as you get a bit later into the game, the events get less and less sort of situated directly outside the town. So I guess that's where I'm kind of noticing it. It's not so much that maybe the entirety of that 25% of the time is nothing but lag, but I'm looking forward to when they do eventually get on top of the netcode and servers and actually making that work a little smoother.
No, I do agree with you there 100%, because I have had issues, especially in combat sometimes, because being a sorcerer on my main file, a lot of spells and area of effects going off at the same time. Apparently that causes the network to run a little slow, which, considering they said come slam our servers, is all very ironic to me.
Yeah, that was I think we said that was either one of things. That was either very confident or very foolish, and I feel like it may have been the latter now.
Does seem a little foolish at this stage, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, those were beta tests as well, so that with a clearly much smaller crowd playing them, whereas at this point the game is out for everyone, so the servers really are getting slammed at their highest. It does seem to be an overwhelmingly popular game at the moment. I think there is loads of streamers playing it. I'll be interested to see, say, in a month's time, if people are still sticking around for this, given that it does have those live service elements. But for myself, I can definitely still see my playing this way into the future, given how much fun I had on Diablo 3 playing with friends.
Yeah, I agree at the moment. I'm very aware that I'm in sort of the first couple of weeks hype.
Honeymoon phase!
Exactly. And I'm also very aware that I do have other games that I have just fucked off for this. And it's very harsh on those games. But I think I can see myself doing the same. Firstly, because I'm enjoying playing it solo so much. But as you say, the co-op element to it is like really, really good fun. Not something I ever thought would be as fun. Like, having played Diablo 3, I couldn't see that would just be easy mode, like way too easy mode. But Diablo 4, no complaints here.
Seems to be the opposite as well, actually. I think we've both had the similar experience where playing together in some of the co-op boss battles that we've had, they have been genuinely challenging. One of our first real challenging boss fights revolved around us attacking the main boss, who occasionally became invulnerable whenever they had, I think it was beginning with 3 and then it was eventually 4 or maybe even 5 casters that were feeding blood into the main boss, and you needed to eliminate all of the main casters around him before you could actually damage the boss.
Yes, which is actually a theme that happens on quite a few bosses in various different guises.
Yeah, in events even as well.
And events, yes, destroy this thing that's stopping you attacking the main thing you need to kill.
Prevent a ritual from happening.
Exactly, but it's done to really good effect.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, this one sort of got us quite a lot because I think initially we were just going around trying to kill all the mobs that were spawning in rather than focusing our attack fully on the casters.
That's right, yeah.
And we still actually, we did okay a couple of times, but we were getting rinsed quite a lot.
I think it was, as you say, because we lacked that focus, we ended up having much more enemies spawn in and we just weren't able to take them. We ended up getting overwhelmed on the last phase of it.
Yeah, because whilst the boss is shielded, she's still like summoning stuff in.
Yeah, that's right.
Pretty much constantly, particularly in the latter phases, because worth noting that all of the bosses in this game so far that I've found, if they've got like, say, 2 or 3 phases, each phase gets exponentially harder in such a satisfying arc when you beat it.
Their attacks increase as well as the amount of mobs that they summon increases as well, so they get real dicey.
Yeah, and if it's in one of these boss fights is in a smaller arena, like this boss in question that we're talking about, it can just get manic. Absolutely manic.
Don't take this the wrong way, but it almost feels a little Dark Soulsy in the sense that when you get them to that last pip of their health bar, the aggression just goes through the roof. They suddenly start doing different moves or variations on the moves they're doing. Mobs start pouring in through the walls. It's a real good. It's sweaty, but it's good, like it's satisfying compared to Diablo 3, which often felt like you could just walk around holding the A button and watch as you melt enemies away.
Well, I mean, you literally could with
Yeah.
the sorcerer. I just held. I think I mapped my hyper beam to right trigger and was just like,
Yeah, this is the way.
literally ridiculous. And that's something I actually give massive props to Diablo 4 is the increased challenge. I feel
Definitely.
like certainly the mobs, if you're in the overworld and stuff, for the most part, you're fine. You can get ganked. A lot of things can attack you at once. But if you're prepared for it, it's all right. But the bosses in the dungeons and things like that, some of them can be brutal, man.
Yeah. You've really got to think about how you do them, and if you're not doing them correctly, you're going to have a really hard time and probably die if you're, depending on the world difficulty you're playing on.
Yeah, so watch out for them hardcore characters.
Just to finish my thought from before, so you mentioned there that your assumption that playing this cooperatively would be playing it on easy mode. I think we've both had that similar shared experience where, and you may expect this considering that we played it for the first time together, but then when we have returned to those bosses on single player experience, it's been a much more straightforward time. And I think that obviously some of that involves the fact that enemies are definitely scaled for 2 players fighting in the same party, and obviously some of it comes from the fact that we know exactly what to do in the second iteration. But it's an interesting dynamic having a harder time playing it co-op than single player, and I like it.
Although I've got to say, that very much applies for the first session we did this week, but
Oh, we got good, buddy.
by the third session, we were melting shit. But I think a lot of that also comes from the fact that some of the later abilities we were talking about earlier then came into play. We didn't start off with everything, obviously.
Yeah, we unlocked our ultimate in maybe the end of the second session, maybe start of the third session.
Mid to end of the second, because I remember like testing it out in 1 fight or 2 fights maybe.
And being our ultimate, as the name kind of implies, it is your most powerful ability for the most part.
Yeah, and because my guy is sort of role playing like this bear character, it's just so fitting that he just goes into manic bear mode. And it's nice because you actually get the bear character model for apparently 50 seconds. I thought it was 20, but
It's a dial werebear as well, isn't it? So it's a lot bigger than your default werebear.
massive, huge, big jacked up bear. And the great thing is you get it for that length of time because normally he transforms back in a really cool animation, to be fair, but he transforms back into human form after attacking and stuff. But it's nice to get the bear some props. I'm sure the wolf looks excellent too, but this character's a bear.
Yeah, no, I think that the bear fits the character model better than the wolf does. It looks like he almost shrinks in certain places when you turn into the wolf. But both are very cool abilities, and definitely it's definitely giving me food for thought in terms of when I do return to my own druid character. I think I might just go full werewolf and see where that takes me instead.
Still fucking off the magic, like it.
Yeah, oh yeah. I did see some other cool abilities that you potentially got in your arsenal. There's like a boulder chucking ability that I'm quite curious about as well.
Earth magic doesn't really do it for me.
Yeah, no, fair play. I think it's intriguing. I just want to see him, whether he rips a boulder out the ground and chucks it. That's what I kind of imagine he's going to do, which sounds
It probably
cool.
just summons from air or something. It'd be cool though. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure the druid magic is really good, but guy's a fucking bear, dude. Like, why would I want to be anything else?
Well, if you ever did want to be anything else as well, the respec ability in the game is very cheap to respec. I think I must have done it on my character about 5 times now. Not all of them intentionally.
Tried to do them twice.
Yeah. Only intentionally did it twice, but goddamn, it's too easy. It's the wrong way around. You tap the button to respec the whole thing, or you hold the button to unspec just one particular skill. And I don't always read everything. Sometimes I just mash A and shit happens.
Yeah, particularly with the story in this game.
Yes, I do a lot of mashing A on the story in this game. I'm still very much just enjoying my demon massacre over paying too much attention beyond the fact that Lilith is the current big bad.
Yeah, to be fair, with the co-op run, we haven't been watching cutscenes and stuff. Apart from the odd quirk in this game of occasionally not being able to skip cutscenes for one of us.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem to have any rhyme or reason.
I think I've invited you to the party every single time, so technically I've been party leader every single time, but we've both had the issue.
Yeah, exactly that. So there's no explanation really. Odd.
It's bizarre.
And you'll play one time and it will work fine, and then you'll play the next and it doesn't. So it's not even like a consistent issue there either.
So now that we've discussed sort of our characters and the synergy and the fun we've been having and all sorts, I do want to give a shout out to the dungeon quality in this game.
They're really good.
We have played in some lovely looking locations. We mentioned briefly last week about how some of the cool things like the sort of almost insect web sack style floors that you can almost see bounce.
Various hellscape looking environments, crawling tendrils coming over the sides of the levels.
Yeah, so cool. It looks like you're going to be attacked, then you're just not.
Can't speak enough about the constant impending, what feels like at least, impending danger in this game. It's very good, and once again, this game looks so gorgeous.
Yeah, standard Diablo, bleak as fuck, it's great. But we have seen some truly stunning dungeons in the run we've done this week. I want to give a special shout out to a particular dungeon as part of Act 2. It was just sort of this lovely druidic foresty type dungeon, and it was just so well decorated. It looked like a really sort of nice tomb, but decrepit. It looked like it could be danger around every corner. There was blood and shit everywhere, and really cool looking like corrupted tree roots and stuff, and it was just epic. I just thought it was great.
It was a really nice and more natural looking dungeon as well. You're kind of used to seeing those old abandoned ruins and things like that. It's nice to see a little bit of a shake up there, something that resembles a bit more nature specific.
Yeah, really, really cool. It also helped with the mission that went alongside it. Was really cool as well. We won't talk about the story because, don't want to spoil things for you, but very good time.
Was this the dungeon where we had to locate 2 keys to feed it into a door that would then unlock?
I don't think it was 2 keys, but we did have to find, at one point we had to find an idol and put it in a statue which opened a door.
That's right, yeah. So there's a little bit more to these missions than just absolutely piling your way through, and I don't really recall that being in Diablo 3 as much.
And that's actually a very pertinent point to something else I was going to bring up in this conversation, which is the side quests you get in this game are all really well thought out. They all have really good, at least so far, they all have really good stories among them, even if it is just go kill 75 of this enemy on occasion. There's always some lore bits that you get to pick up, a family in peril, the characters have meaning, they're all named, which always helps. They all seem to have their own lives.
I got led into a basement and forced to perform an execution on
What?
An execution? Excuse an exorcism. I was asked to perform an exorcism on a child with the help of a shaman, so that was familiar territory there for us.
And that's actually also a very good one as well. You're really helping me segue this together nicely, Will, because they also have certain side quests in the game that have multiple side quests linked into one big overarching side quest arc.
Ooh, like The Witcher.
Kinda, yeah, it's really cool. And this exorcism one is one of them. There's another 2 missions involved in that.
Oh, there's follow-ons, is there? Oh, okay.
And there's a few like that, and some of them are really cool. One of them involves, like, for example, finding a corrupted weapon, fighting the demon that wields it, and then chaos ensues after that for a couple of missions. There's some really cool stuff going on. And it just, along with the fact that the open world is an open world, and it truly is an open world, massive map this.
Huge map, yeah. We've only uncovered a tiny portion, like maybe less than a quarter.
I think on my solo playthrough, I've done the first 2 areas pretty much to 100% completion in terms of exploring them.
Fine.
And that's maybe a third of the map, maybe. And because all the areas are so stunning, and then they have these side quests that make you go wander all of them. There's loads of random dungeons as well, which can unlock passive abilities for characters across your whole account. So really handy stuff.
That's right. So if you were to do all of these dungeons with one character, and then you were suddenly to decide to switch to another character entirely on your new game, not only would you have all of the gold that you've earned, which is a fantastic mechanic between all of your characters, you would also have unlocked all of the abilities that you'd unlocked for alternate classes on other accounts as well. So really, really useful stuff. A great way to give yourself a leg up and not have to start at absolute bottom zero whenever you decide to make a new character.
Yeah, and it's also the case with crafting items as well. So you can sort of get your health potion up when you get the appropriate level without having to grind out items if you don't want to. It's really, really cool, user-friendly way of doing it.
Oh, so your herbs and everything like that are shared across as well.
Yep.
Oh, that's really cool. Okay, awesome.
So all of that shared, and all of your other collectibles like the purple coin things that you get that allow you to gamble in the game in terms of getting random items with random stats, similar to old Diablo games.
Yeah.
And the red currency, which is I believe for PvP, that I assume that carries across all characters as well, given it's at the bottom. I haven't actually engaged in the PvP at this point.
No, me either, but it's something that I can't see myself getting into too much until I've put way more hours into this game, because I'm just enjoying the player versus environment stuff so much.
Yeah, I probably won't even go near the PvP, to be perfectly honest with you. There's so good PvE. It seems like there's a lot to get through. There's 6 acts in this game, potentially epilogues as well. So a lot to get through. Lots of really cool side quests as I've just discussed there. So for me, if I'm going to go near PvP, it's going to be with a fucking superpowered level 100 character at the end.
Exactly that, and then you can just kind of get a measure of just where your character stands, in terms of the meta. I think that I've discussed the meta before, and it's something I typically avoid. I just like to play the game how I want to. But I can definitely see myself, and once again, with regards to the fact that it's so easy to respec all of your skill points, I can definitely see myself getting to that level 50 or getting to that level 100 and then having a real play and just trying out some of the meta builds as well, just to see if they really do make that much of a difference in terms of damage output. Take some of those into PvP, why not? Because you're sure as hell going to be facing other people that are engaging with the meta, that's for sure.
Yeah, not something I plan on doing, but who knows what will happen when I get to endgame and have potentially multiple characters at endgame level. Who knows what I might do then.
I'd love to see some sort of emphasis on team and synchronicity and synergy in teams and picking characters that work with each other to win team-based objectives. Hey, why not have like a King of the Hill mode? Something like that could actually make the game really interesting, I think, rather than just having a straight player versus player, just deathmatch style.
I have no idea what it is. They may have things like that. I doubt it, honestly. I think it's probably an arena style thing.
I think that you're probably right, but I think that just given the way that this game is going to be built and the fact that they are talking about new content for this game, it could well be on the horizon. Although I do agree with you currently, I don't think they're looking into anything quite that advanced.
No, focusing on the battle pass for now.
Yeah.
Whatever the hell that's going to look like.
Gimme, gimme, gimme.
Well, yeah, you did actually get the balls out, big dick, demon, fucking slice, whatever the hell I called it, edition.
Yeah.
So you get the old battle pass experience boost thing, don't you?
Level skips as well, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, very nice.
Good shit.
Yeah, and I'll probably be jealous, even though it'll just be shit like, oh, you can have some extra. What are those potions called that aren't potions? Elixirs?
Yeah, like the consumable things that you can keep in your inventory.
The thing that I've got loads of in my inventory and I haven't used a single one yet.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, you might get some special ones of those and probably some cool skins, to be fair.
I'm hoping that it mostly revolves around skins, to be honest with you, because that's kind of the thing that I'm always most tempted by. I got to say, I think we spoke a little bit in some of our sessions about some concerns that there might not be as cool stuff that's obtainable through the game, and that would funnel people into the battle pass and into buying stuff from the store, because if all the cool shit's there in the paid stuff, then it would really suck to be running around as not a free-to-play player, but as a whatever you want to call it, like a base edition player or like a
muggle.
A muggle, yes, a muggle. I like that. Yeah, playing as a muggle. I think
that's me, folks. I'm a muggle.
I think that in that sort of situation, it would really suck to discover to get some really cool stuff. you're actually going to have to put money into this. But so far, I've been pretty happy with the stuff I've seen. I think that the game's definitely got a lot to prove in terms of making sure that I still feel that way down the line. But I've got quite a few different cool face masks now. I've got like a gas mask with an eye patch, and I've got one that is like a plague doctor with a hood.
Which I'm really jealous of. I really want that one.
And the cool thing about this game as well is that taking these items to a blacksmith, you can salvage them, and then it will take the aesthetic of that item, allowing you to apply it to any other piece of equipment as well, which is really fun.
Transmog, baby!
Yeah, they've made it easier than ever, available straight away from the start, and it costs next to nothing to do other than the item itself that you are taking the aesthetic from.
Yeah, so F in the chats for those legendary items that I've salvaged so that I don't have to do it again.
Yeah. Oh, it's a sad day. The game does check up on you as well before it's like, you really sure you want to salvage
For
that?
legendary items it does, yeah, it's quite funny. And I'm like, yes.
Absolutely. Get out of here. I'm going to find something better.
Well, yeah, to be fair, I only ever do it when I'm replacing them, or if it's a dupe, or it's crap.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
there are some crap legendary... Well, not crap. None of them are crap, but they might not have the stats that you need for optimization for your build.
Yeah, I've definitely come across more than a few legendary items, which is that the highest tier of rarity, or are there further tiers once
so.
you unlock? I was wondering if there might be further tiers of rarity once you've unlocked extra world tiers, for instance. I don't know.
That could be a thing. I don't know.
I'd love to see it. I mean, there's typically in most RPG games 4 or 5 tiers anyway, and we've got regular, magic,
Grey,
rare.
blue, yellow, and orange.
Yeah. So, it'll be interesting to see whether that does become a thing later on. But absolutely, you'll often pick up an orange thing and it doesn't either have the stats that you want, or you've actually already got something that works better, or even is more powerful in some occasions, some rare occasions.
Yeah, and it's particularly brutal with some of them that, like, again, with the sorcerer particularly, because I've spec to ice, and like if I get a special ability that's like, yeah, your fire meteor will do loads more, and it's like, oh great, thanks. That's so not helpful for me. But with the druid character, so far at least, it seems to be all be stuff that's really fucking handy. Like I've got one that if I stand still, I end up doing more damage up to 30%.
Yes, over time standing still, you just increase your damage, which works great for your character because a lot of the time you just run straight in and start mauling.
Start pounding, baby. Yeah, so it's super useful for my character. So it's potluck.
Another piece of equipment also allowed me the ability to dodge twice, so I get 2 charges on my dodge instead of just the one. That is super useful, considering dodging has been massively nerfed since Diablo 3.
It's a 5-second cooldown, and I think it should be 4, because I always seem to do it with 1 second.
Yeah. I'm hoping that now I won't get accustomed too much to having 2 dodges, so I actually make the most out of them rather than just naturally dodging twice every time.
Well, I think I told you, when I first got a set of boots with that ability, I thought it was because I'd leveled up to 25 or something. I thought you just natively unlocked a second dodge, and I was hyped. And weirdly, because I deleted that character and started again, and I didn't know, it did it again, sort of roughly the same level, so I was like, oh, sick, yeah. then it went, and I was like, why would it disappear? And I was like, oh, it's a boot. I was gutted.
Yeah, I've noticed that there's quite a few items in the game that actually grant you an extra point in your skill tree for certain abilities, which I found really useful, and actually was the cause of a lot of my respecking, because I suddenly found out that I had a point in the skill tree that I wasn't even utilizing because I hadn't hotkeyed it to an ability in the past, so I wasn't able to use it. So after respecking, I was able to make the most out of those additional points from my equipment, and in some cases get an extra 2 points even in one specific ability, and get granted a whole new set of things I can do.
Yeah, and that sort of ability that items can have to give you that is also useful for trying shit out. Like if you're curious about an ability but don't want to sink a point in it, even though it is super easy and super cheap to refund and reskill. So yeah, it's really handy, some of them, and as you say, some of them can put you on the maximum level or above the maximum level, which can be quite powerful.
Yeah, man, there is a whole lot of fun to be had in this game, especially in terms of the experimentation between different equipment, different builds, different abilities that you can use in conjunction with other players as well. It's going to get real fun the more we play this, and I do feel like the more I play it, the more I'm enjoying it. I don't think I'm getting tired of this one anytime soon.
It's funny you say that, because when I first started playing it, I was getting Diablo'd out quite a lot, as I used to. Like, play quite a lot of Diablo, but then I have to have a break.
Fine, yeah.
But the last few days, playing with you and then subsequently playing solo, I have been just like, no, I'm not sick of this at all. I think it's because I've got more abilities now. I think with both the
Yeah.
characters I've run so far, I've noticed that, and rightly so, by the way, this isn't a criticism, even though perhaps I thought it was at the start, but you start off super weak and limited in what you can do.
It takes a good minute, doesn't it, to actually unlock more than just your base ability.
Exactly, and your first sort of skills that you pick are very crucial. Like, you need to have your, in my case, left click and right click mouse button attacks straight away as quickly as possible. And one of the things that helps you do this, of course, is as you sort of complete things throughout the world, you actually earn renown in the regions, and that can unlock you extra skill points and extra potion charges and useful things like that.
Oh, can it? That's cool.
Yeah, and so you get a bonus on the characters to actually unlock the stuff, but then the renown bonus actually has one set of rewards that is for all the characters in that realm. In that world.
Oh, I've noticed as I've been menuing occasionally, I've hit a new tier and I press unlock and it gives me a bunch of shit.
Yeah, so if you start a new character now, it will probably have it will start with 2 skill points or something. Will have all 5 or 6 of your potions, whatever you've got. Like, it'll have all those charges.
Damn, that's really useful.
Really handy.
It seems like this game's got plenty of replayability, that they didn't actually want to make you have to do some of the more boring, grindy, or kind of just unnecessary stuff throughout all of the characters. It's nice to kind of just condense that all down or across all of the characters.
Yes, and on that point as well, shout outs to whoever came up with the idea of once you finish the dungeon, you can teleport back to the start and out the exit for free.
Yes, thank God.
Beautiful feature.
So useful.
Useful feature. Alongside the permanent town scroll and the automatic identifying, it's just so much nicer. My inventory is less cluttered. My movements are a lot more smooth. It's just great. You go out on these massive treks and at no point do you feel like, oh shit, I've got to track back. It's just so much nicer that way. Because I have run out of town scrolls before and been stuck in the middle of fucking nowhere and have to go try grind a town scroll. In older Diablos, this is, of course.
Yes, I was going to say, I don't think that they had quite those limitations in 3 either, but no, absolutely nice. And it works better in Diablo 4 than it did in 3 as well, I think. Having it hotkey permanently is very nice.
And just being able to teleport to all of your waypoints is just handy too. Quality of life-wise, I think they've improved in almost every aspect on Diablo 3.
Yeah, nothing strikes me as more difficult to do in Diablo 3 other than kill the bosses.
Other than the combat and
Yeah.
general experience, but that's great.
Yeah, that's
It's
what you
great.
want.
And yeah, I mean, I look forward to seeing what else happens with this game. Obviously, there is going to be more content added to it eventually. You know, there's no way this game won't have DLC of some description.
I think we're getting DLC within the month, man. I think that a whole raft of new content is due to come out shortly.
Well, there we go. It's going to be hype, man.
I'm right there with you, man. I'm looking forward to playing more of this shit with you.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. And who's to say we won't have like 7 or 8 characters by the end of it?
You can look forward to a lot of the Total Podmo catch-up sessions revolving around more of Diablo content and news.
Yeah, most likely. And hey, if any of our listeners out there are playing Diablo themselves and want to come join, we do have a clan.
Yes!
You search for Total Pod Mode. Feel free to send a join request. You know, we're more than happy to play with you guys. Love to engage. So
Absolutely, and it's always good to grow the clan as well. I'm looking forward to seeing that list rise.
yeah, I've no idea if it actually gives you anything. I don't know if there's like clan rankings and shit like that, but hey, bit of fun. Come join.
Come and support your local podcast.
So with that, we come to the end of the show.
Yeah, thanks everyone to listening, and if it doesn't trouble you too much, we would really appreciate a 5-star rating on your choice of podcast listening platform. Don't forget to subscribe to us on our various social medias that will drop in just a second. We're really trying to grow interest and the audience of the podcast. With that, we'll be able to bring a lot more features to our episodes. We'll be working on a lot more sound effects and new themes as well. And we're really hoping to step up the content of this podcast in general. So get clicking, people. It'd be great to see our numbers rise.
Click away, people. Click away. And where should you be clicking, I hear you ask? Well, you can, as always, find the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and pretty much anywhere else you get your podcasts by searching for Total Pod Mode.
We also post regular video content of our playthroughs, stream highlights, as well as the podcast on our YouTube channel, Total Pod Mode.
You can also find us on Twitter by searching for @TotalPodMode, all one word.
Or you can find me at Whodafunk on Twitter. And I'm also on Twitch under twitch.tv/Whodafunk.
And you can find me on Twitter @MrBames, and I'm also on Twitch under twitch.tv/MrBames_TPM. Listeners, thanks again. We really appreciate you.
Thanks very much, guys.
Take care, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye now.